This is the Tiger Press Conference featuring the second batch of filmmakers that are in Tiger competition. Our main competition of the festival. We'll have the award ceremony next Friday, which will also be streaming live via IFFR.com. For now, let's take a moment to meet the filmmakers that brought us their amazing films. Now let's get serious and start with the jury members that will be selecting one Tiger winner and one special jury award from the batch. First off is Emily Boyer from the Festival Cinema du Riel, Hafiz Ranganjale, who is from a collective in Indonesia, first collective to actually curate the Documenta in Casso in 22. Two-time Oscar-nominated director Hani Abu Assad. Kogonada, who has been in Tiger competition with a beautiful film called Columbus 3 years ago. And last but not least, the opening film of last year, directed by Sacha Polak, Dutch filmmaker. They will be viewing the films, and again, next Friday, the award ceremony. Now, Tiger competition is the main competition of the festival, featuring this year 10 films by first, second, or third filmmakers whom we believe do something special with cinema, take us to places, bring us into a new narrative form, and challenge what we think cinema is by bringing films of relevance and personal urgency. These are the 5 films we'll be discussing today. These are the filmmakers. Let's meet them one by one, starting with a film from South Korea, Beasts Clawing at Straws, which is a high-paced, high-octane film based on a Japanese novel where a bag of money brings misery to many people. You should be careful what to do with money, but in the first place, make a great film. For his debut film, he was able to collect a stellar cast from South Korea. We're very happy that he's here. The premiere was this Sunday for a packed house. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the director, Kim Yonghoon. We're very happy. He's from Korea, so we have the best translator and film connoisseur, Gino, helping us so that he can express himself freely. Oh, hold on. This beautiful lady is Müge Demir, who was crucial in putting the competition together with me. She'll be moderating the session. Müge, go ahead.
Thank you. So, your film premiered on Sunday, and your film has a set of characters. It's divided in 6 chapters. How did you manage to set all these characters and also their worlds in such a short time also? Because each chapter is around, let's say, 15 minutes.
인물이 많은 영화이긴 한데 가장 핵심적으로 다루는 인물들은 3명이에요. 그 사우나에서 일하는 중만이라는 캐릭터와 그리고 세관 공무원인 태영, 그리고 그 노래주점에서 술집에서 일하는 여자, 이 3명의 이야기고, 그 3명의 이야기를 따라가다가 이제 그 연이라는 여사장, 술집 여사장을 만나게 되는 그런 캐릭터 구조를 갖고 있습니다. 예.
So there are actually a lot of characters in the film. But there are 3 main characters, Jungman, who works at the sauna, and then Taeyong, who is a customs officer, and then the woman who works at the karaoke drinking place. And when we follow these 3 people, we end up meeting with Yeon-hee, who is the boss of the karaoke place.
And mentioning Yeon-hee, she's played by Korean superstar Jeon De-yeon. How did you get her on board? Was she involved in also maybe the scenario, or because she's the central character, basically connected to all the rest?
우선 시나리오를 썼을 때 그 제작사 대표가 그 전도연 배우한테 책을 보여줬었고, 그 전도연 배우가 이 캐릭터에 좀 마음에 들었던 것 같아요. 이 캐릭터가 여자한테는 워너비 같은 그런 존재고 또 남자한테는 판무파탈 같은 그런 존재였는데 그 캐릭터에 좀 매력을 느꼈던 것 같고 이 작업을 시작했던 것 같습니다. 예.
Yes, so when I was writing the script, the head of the production company showed the script to Chun Do-yeon, and she liked it because for women, this character is someone that they would like to be like, and for men, she is a femme fatale, and I think that Chun Do-yeon felt an attraction to this character, and so we ended up working together.
Bero mentioned the novel. It's based on a Japanese novel. I haven't read the novel, but I understood that in the novel, it's more about the characters, and you decided to follow basically the journey of the money bag. So the structure in your film is different than the novel. Why did you choose for this different structure?
저는 어찌 보면 이 영화가 돈가방이 주인공일 수도 있다라는 생각을 했었고, 그래서 첫 장면부터 돈가방을 따라가는 이야기다라고 이렇게 긴 롱테이크로 찍었었고, 이 돈가방이 어떻게 탄생했고 또 이 돈가방이 누구를 스쳐 지나가면서 누구한테 가게 되는 이야기이고, 또 나중에는 이 엔드에서도 돈가방이 보여지는데, 과연 이 영화를 다 보고 나서 이 돈가방이 쥐어졌을 때 관객들은 또 어떤 선택을 할 것인가, 이런 질문을 던지는 이야기로 매짐을 하고 싶었습니다. 예.
So there are a lot of characters, and then I actually thought that the money bag could be the main character. So from the first scene, we followed this money bag in a very long take. And we see how it comes to life, how it was born in the beginning, and then who it goes by, who it touches in its process, and then who ends up with it at the very ending. And while we follow this money bag, I wanted to end up asking the audiences what they would do if this happened to them.
What would you do if you would find a bag of money?
먼저 그 중반처럼 돈 5만 원권 한 장을 일단 빼고 그다음에 지켜볼 것 같아요, 상황을. 예. 그리고 나서 오지 않으면 또 한 장을 빼고 그리고 나서 집에 가지고 왔을 것 같다가 되게 불안해하다가 다시 돌려놓을 것 같아요. 예.
So I think, like Jungman, I probably would have just taken one 50,000 won bill out and then waited to see what happens. And then if no one came along, I would take out just one other 50,000 won bill and then see what happens. And then maybe take the bag home and then be very anxious about it and then take it back.
Just kidding, yeah.
Thank you very much, Kim Yonghoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for Kim Yonghoon.
Thank you, Jean.
Let's move on to the next title, just premiered last night, a film we feel close to as a festival because we were following its process, amongst others, through our Hubert Bals Fund, a film from India, who we've traditionally always had a strong presence here, a film about a very poignant theme, I think, something about the humanity that touched us, its poetry, and its political relevance. The title is Nasir. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Arun Karthick.
So we had your premiere yesterday. We are following in Nasir the one day in the life of a clerk. You capture him in 4:3 ratio also, and the camera is always focused on him. His world seems very small, but the way he is presented as a character, it doesn't really look like he's suffered by this claustrophobic visual. There's a contrast there. Could you explain a bit about that approach?
So primarily the choice of wanting to go with that aspect ratio came from the space itself, because the shops, the houses, they all, to me, looked almost squarish. And I thought we have to displace this character from the actual reality of Coimbatore into the cinematic reality that we were imagining of. And that would constitute his inner world. And in this inner world, you need to, you kind of need to transfix the ephemeral image and make it feel like it was also yesterday, it is also tomorrow, and it is not just then. So we wanted to do little, like with color and with the texture, a little hyperreal elements so that it is not just a slice of life direct reality, but it's more of his psychological inner world seen through the outside.
Well, let's talk about the slice of life, because the film is set in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. Nasir is a Muslim man. He's a minority in the Hindu majority city. And there is also, we hear throughout the film, basically outbursts through speakers of Hindu extremism. He seems to be quite indifferent by the surrounding extremist messages, and also even when there's an uprising, he goes home thinking about other things. How is that?
So even while as we were shooting, the Hindu festival, the Ganesh festival was happening, and the Hindu extremists who were talking on stage were actually giving very inflammatory speeches, and we recorded those speeches. And on the Fridays and Thursdays when in the mosque, and when their fundamental leaders, Muslim fundamental leaders, so there is this very volatile bubbles, which is almost about to collide and burst, But then sometimes they don't, hit each other also. Both of them acknowledge the fact that, he's bad-mouthing about me and I am bad-mouthing about that community. And it's strange, like to feel the characters, they don't mind, and which is also very tragic, it's so become part of every day that you hear so much of, derogatory comments made from two communities that it is not taken serious anymore.
You lived actually also there, right?
Yeah, I did.
The film is based on a short story, a clerk story, which is told in second person. So you immediately identify with the main character. This is something you also try to reach for the film, right? Like immediate engagement. What kind of tools did you use for that?
So we wanted to create the ordinariness of the man, because we didn't want to make a hero out of him, because he's just a simple man and an ordinary man. And how do you visually create the ordinariness? And so we wanted to actually wander around his, his close or like objects that he, is fond of, and like really close portraits, not just in terms of the focal length, but how people see him, how he sees other people around him. And we shouldn't diverse too much away from his particular narrative, because Coimbatore is a very bustling and very populated city, and one could be, distracted by so many other, also visually, interesting elements around the character. But you had to just stick with the character, because it's almost the story flows from that morning and ends that night, and there is not much time that you can spend with other things. So whatever, all the aspects of his everyday life needs to be told with a kind of a narrative poignancy, but at the same time not with a dramatic exposition. So for this the short story was already with an inherent form, and I just wanted to follow it and try to bring through the sound design. We tried to do mono sound design on the film, where we wanted to converge all the sounds into the center speaker, which we thought would make the audience feel closer to the character rather than the sounds dispersing away from the screen. And visually also the framing in itself and the mise-en-scène was constructed so that this ordinariness and the closeness is felt.
It was felt. Thank you very much.
Well, can you say something about the poetry and the love letters that are part of the story? How important was that, and at what point did you decide to put them in?
I think they were part of the actual characterization in the short story, because I liked that part that he's not a great poet, or he doesn't even consider himself to be an important poet. He just writes inspired from the old songs, film Hindi songs, and so I like the fact that he has something to express. Maybe he doesn't have the language of the great poets, but there is some truth in what he's expressing. So his poems are true, and I like to incorporate that, and which would speak a lot about him, and also there is this romantic in him, and the way he relates to his wife, and and he's constantly thinking about his wife the whole day after he's dropped her. So I thought the letter writing to her would clearly yeah.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Arun Karthick.
Thank you.
Now let's move over to a place up almost 5,000 meters high where people were shooting a film by, we're going to watch the clip in a second, set in the northern landscape of Argentina close to the Bolivian border. Llama herders, an imaginary puma, the experience of nature in a totally different manner. You have to take the time for this film to reach you. There's mysticism and something very real, to our opinion, about what it means to be human. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Alejandro Telemaco Tarraf. We have Jasper here translating if he wants to speak Spanish.
So, hi. Bero mentioned 4,000 meters altitude.
5,000.
5,000 even at certain
The end of
points.
the film is 5,000.
What attracted you to those heights and to this story?
Yeah, because I feel that the altitude is part of the story. It's part of the altitude in terms of a spiritual level, and that mountain connects the earth with the upper world, no? If you can say, and as well connects the reality with the myth, with the idea of myth, no? And I thought that I need to go very far, isolate myself, my crew, all the people, to go to something pure, raw, to the essence of human. And I think the film is about the origin of. For me, the character or these people, they are like the first humans for me, and that I think is that.
There's very little dialogue in your film, but the soundscape is very, very rich. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The sound, the sound, importance of sound. I always thinking. It's not 50 and 50, it's 100 and 100%. So sound, the image is 100% the image and 100% sound, a film. And the sound narrates off the screen. It doesn't illustrate. It's not that. The sound contains you can imagine with sound. And for example, in the beginning, there's a big storm for a few minutes, and the sound, and you can see the storm through the sound. But if you see this, if you see the first part is it's almost a visual silent, but through the sound you imagine. And you can enter to this altitude, you can enter to the heart of the image, no? And go up.
So we basically follow actually the journey of your protagonist.
Sorry?
We follow the journey of your protagonist, Fidel, who's a llama shepherd in search of the puma that is endangering his basically livestock. There's very little dialogue, as we mentioned, but there's one sentence where he is contemplating and saying that basically this is, the earth is as much his territory as it is ours, of the puma, referring to the puma. If you can, bring that to the current context where we have a lot of debates about people infecting the natural environment, was it also something that you thought about, or is it something very inherent to these people living there?
Both things. I think is because in the Andean cosmovision you have the three stages. The low.
You can say it in Spanish if you prefer.
La tierra de abajo sería como no es el infierno, pero es como lo de abajo, la tierra de abajo.
The underworld.
The
you mean,
underworld.
The underworld.
The underworld. Yeah, the underworld is the land of the serpent. Our land is the land of the puma, and the upper world is the land of the condor. And there's few elements, like for example, a tree can cross all the layers, and for that reason is sacred. And I took that idea of from the cosmovision, and I thought, okay, it's a great idea. Now, what is happening with everything, with climate change and everything, and it's okay. This puma has a message for us, and has a message of memory, no, of the memory of the place, of the memory of una memoria colectiva. Is a collective memory. Yeah. Is that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The film is called Piedra, Sola. It's premiering tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Alejandro Telemaco Tarraf.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Let's move on to China, the city of Hangzhou. A film, traditionally we've had some very powerful Chinese films in Tiger competition. You may remember Present Perfect last year, the winner, or The Widowed Witch the year before. So we have high hopes for this film in particular, which brings something very contemporary, very human, through the story of a young lady who comes back to her city and finds the buildings deteriorating, as maybe the marriage of her elders, of her parents, and her finding her own place in that particular world. Let's take a look at the cloud in her room. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage visual artist and filmmaker Zheng Lu Xinyuan. And we ask Rings to translate for us.
So it's a personal story, I assume, also. But to what extent do you also feel it's a portrait of a generation that we're looking at?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a very personal story. At the same time, I think for children like us who are born in the 90s, we're like the only generation of like the single child. So I think it's a very special place in history that we're treated as like the most important, the young person in the family. But at the same time, you also experience certain loneliness that was created by this situation. So I think this is a film that is almost like a gift to my generation, that I think many people of my generation may feel certain feelings that we shared.
So Muzi goes back to Hangzhou, and there is a very strong sense of estrangement. How did you approach that? How did you basically try to visualize that? I feel the locations, as we've seen also in the clip, are also kind of like hinting towards almost like otherworldliness. Can you explain a little bit about that?
I think that's like kind of the magic of cinema, that involves like the smell, the moisture, like how wet the air is, and like what do you see, and everything that create that moment that makes you feel that maybe like otherworldly. So for example, when I go back to Hangzhou, when I take the taxi, no matter it's from Beijing or LA, like two places that I spent a long time, like when you open the window, it's like always raining outside. And even though you're going home to a place that you're so familiar with, it always brings you certain new experiences because you're away for so long. But I think that distance also sometimes helps you see things more clearly. So I try to capture what I really grasp when I go back. Yeah.
as a character, she's very elusive almost in a way, like you can't really grasp Muzi, and she is very detached to also the people that she meets when she comes back. How did you work with the actors, not just only Muzi, but also the people that she's meeting? How are they actors?
Most of them are non-professionals. I think for her, I think that might be two parts. Because the actress, she also left Hangzhou. She's local, but she left home when she was 16, and she had been an artist in Beijing and been drifting. So when she first come back to Hangzhou and to be part of the film, I think she also shared that kind of feeling that we're trying to portray in the film. So it's as herself, I think, as a person, as an actress, trying to approach the character. And I really cherish this whole process as well, because I don't think there is a very concrete final destination, like a character in my mind that I want to bring to life. It's more about I meet someone like her, and we work together. We're trying to get to a place that both of us haven't imagined before. Yeah.
You make some very strong visual choices in the film. Did you envision them as you were developing the script, or was it something that came from the material as you were shooting the film?
I think both, in a way, because I was writing the script pretty early on in 2014. And in my background, I also do documentaries and photography. So I have certain ideas in my mind, but we do experiments in post and see if things really worked as we imagined as well.
I think they work because you're here. Ladies and gentlemen, Zheng Lu Xinyuan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Translator was there for window dressing, obviously. On to the final one. And we had to program it at the last one because Yasmine had been working on it till the very last moment, I think, following up on a very strong first feature, Leonis. Very happy that she made it. It's a film where people, artists actually come together in an old villa and sort of reenact some of the more revolutionary works by Godard and Farocchi that have been so impactful both for the actual revolution but also for a cinematic revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Yasmine Lopez. What happened to the coat? You were supposed to wear the coat from the film.
But it was too much.
Okay.
Do we need Jasper also?
What?
Do we need Jasper, or are you okay?
I think I'm okay, but
All
if
right.
I need a word, you are
He's
there, right?
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
I wanted to talk with you about the four friends. They go to this abandoned estate, which is like in a beautiful decayed situation. The camera is always moving, but so are the characters. So the space and how the movement of the character in relation to the space. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did you direct them?
I think I always wanted to think about the house as a main character. I don't know if it is, I manage.
I think.
But the house as telling us like how the past work in present. So, and I think the camera and the house, they work together on another level than the characters, like they are connected in some way.
Is it also, was it your intention also to disorient maybe the viewers, maybe to connect them also with the state of your protagonist?
Could be, yeah. I think the whole film is about subjective and how mourning changed our perspective. At least it happened to me with the mornings that I have passed, that I realized I couldn't see exactly what it was in front of my eyes, that I was kind of representing whatever was missing. Mm-hmm. So this feeling of lost, I think, is in the navigation of the house, which is also the architecture itself. The house is very weird itself, so it's not easy. I remember the first time that I went there that I didn't remember how to get, for instance, to the kitchen. So there's something in the film, I guess.
And the friends are there to reenact basically scenes from La Chinoise and Inextinguishable Fire and Ana Mendieta's Unknown, Untitled, what was it?
Yes, beard transplant.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned mourning. I mean, how is reenacting, or I don't know, reenacting or looking at art in relation to mourning? Because I think there's also a connection that you're making there.
Yeah, I was thinking the possibility of condensing on making a dialogue between a personal mourning with a historical mourning. I have the feeling that on the 70s, art and politics, they were very intertwined, and for some reason now it's kind of separate, and I want to kind of reenact that in order to try to bring that type of energy again on the stage of art. So yeah, a historical mourning and a personal mourning in a way like they meet in this film. Or this is at least what I wanted to.
There's a very strong sense of time and the passing of time. I think you shot in various seasons even. Mm-hmm. How relevant was that to bring this connection between historical mourning and personal mourning to the fray?
First, if I understood well, this idea of like the whole film is summer and all of a sudden we are in a winter, it's connected also with the Le Chien Andalous, like at the end they are like in this kind of river, orilla? Well, on the side of the riverbank.
On the riverbank.
And we saw at the beginning of Le Chien Andalous like they were in the city. This is a space, in my case is time, but I wanted again to put another layer on this idea of nothing is real or objective. It's more like a subjective investigation.
So how did you work with the cast? How did it go? Was everything scripted and organized, or was there a lot of flow in making this happen?
Nothing is improvised in this film, even though appears to. I mean, we were rehearsing one day to make one shot, and I made plans and storyboards with my father, that he helped me a lot with that. So I had everything in mind. Of course, then shooting stuff happens, but it was a kind of a dance video, like a choreography all the time. Probably not in this clip, that is only one character, but sometimes there are 5 appearing and disappearing, and this was a mess.
It reminded me quickly of what Diego Garcia said yesterday, the cinematographer of Regadas in Mascaru, when he was asked, do you do safety shots when you have those long takes? And he said, no, I work with brave directors, where clearly you're one of them.
Well, Rui Posas, the DP of this film, he was saying that at the end of the shooting, like you know what I want, what you want. So, yeah, it was very, very, very difficult, but fun also, because the moment rehearsal, it doesn't work, rehearsal, it doesn't work, and all of a sudden you start seeing that start to work. This is magical. It's a moment that I will never forget, like seeing that, like everyone doing what they have to do is beautiful.
So experience the magic. The press and industry screenings are, of course, also available. The premiere is on Thursday. See you, fuera, invierno, mismo.
Good.
Yeah. If I were winter itself. Ladies and gentlemen, Jazmine Lopez. Stay seated.
So I stay.
So here you have the 5 Tiger films that are just premiering and are still coming up. Find the time to see them, watch them, review them, or meet the filmmakers. These were the ones we had today. Let's ask them all back on stage. Please come on up and give a warm round of applause for all the directors. At this point in time, you are free to ask questions to any one of the directors. Feel free to shout out. We'll translate or repeat the question. Yes.
Hello. I was actually asked by Dan Dalton of Screen International to ask a question on behalf of the Beer.
So the question is, to repeat real quick, regarding to the director of The Cloud in a Room, whether she had influenced any pressure regarding censorship, or was she aware of this when she was making her film?
So we did the film with very low budget. So in order to keep like freedom of speech or like a free expression, I think that's like certain things that there are certain choices that we made at the very beginning. Right now, if I'm scared if they censor me, is that part of your question? So far, not yet.
Well, maybe this is also a question for you, Arun, actually. There's turbulence in India. There's a mic next to you. There's turbulence in India. Your film is not shying away from the personal consequences of what those clashes can entail. How relevant was that for you, and did it influence the shoot?
Well, certainly did not influence the shooting part, but we are anticipating it because now after the film plays in many festivals, we have to censor it to get a local release. And then I think the censor board might cause a problem, but we are ready for it. We are ready to fight them, and we'll go to the court if needed. Yeah.
Well, it's a relevant question also because, as you know, we have a theme program about Hong Kong, and we think the freedom of speech element is very, very relevant. So kudos to you and you. Maybe not the same in Argentina, huh?
Luckily not.
Luckily not. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? If not, we'll wrap up the live stream. You'll be free to ask questions later on or meet with the directors. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the press conference of the Tiger Competition Part 2. See you around.